What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Outside Interference with me, the RRBG Eddie Torres, and today we have our WWE correspondent, the Triple B we are called, the bald, bearded, and blind, Mr. Eddie Furth. How are you?
Good to see you, man. I'm glad. This is, of all weeks to come in and talk WWE, this might be the most exciting.
Why, something happened?
R-Truth is back.
Yeah,
right?
baby.
Right, Triple H? R-Truth is back.
That's the big return for me, for sure. I popped.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I've talked to some of my friends. That pop in the audience when they showed him was about as loud as the other returns.
No way. Look, of course he did. That's one of those returns too. I didn't expect it happening, and I didn't expect it like caring as much in the moment. I was like, oh shit, R-Truth.
Yeah, man, he's the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a Survivor Series that has been causing a stir. The show itself, overall, first of all, was okay. Outside of the big obvious news, like the show itself was fine. Like it wasn't like mind blowing.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think the women's match, which is the first one I have here, the women's match with Damage Control versus Team Bianca, was probably match of the night.
Yeah.
I thought it had the best spots. It had the most excitement. Like, the women really brought it, which usually isn't the case for me. Like, usually the women's matches are, like, the ones that I'm like, all right, halfway through, I'm like, I'm going to go pee. But kept my attention the entire time. What do you think about the women's match?
So, like, I definitely agree. Going into this show, I felt like it was very, like, I looked at it on paper, and I was like, this is a very light show. I guess they really are. And by the time we got to the main event, realizing how over those faces were on Team Cody, I was like, oh, they're seriously over. That matters. Okay, this is big, but the show looked light going into it, which prediction-wise, we'll get to why I was convinced Seth Rollins was losing that belt to Damian Priest, because I was like, oh, there's got to be a moment. Randy coming back, that's incredible. What's the I agree. That women's War Games match was, I think, top to bottom, just awesome. They had such a good match. They told such a great story in there. It was really interesting. I loved what they did. I think there were a couple of those big moments with Charlotte and Io on the cage coming down. The thing with Charlotte and Becky. That was an awesome match. I loved that. That was a good time.
I had people complaining about the trash spot. They're like, oh, she already did that in NXT. I'm like, yeah, in NXT.
Yeah.
This is the main roster. A lot of that audience hasn't seen that. And I think that I also had people complaining about the Charlotte spot. They'll go, she botched it. She hit those girls right in the head. I'm like, isn't that the point?
Yeah.
Aren't we trying to take them out? Like, I thought that was the whole point, to try to knock out our opponents, not just. He was like, oh, she should have been flat so that the girls could have been safe.
People are thinking Charlotte wasn't taking care of them, or
that
or a human body flying through the air accidentally struck someone, but everybody essentially, right? There's no reported injuries from it.
No, nobody. Everybody was fine, but they were like, oh, she should have been flat, and the girls would have been more protected. I'm like, what if, the person that's flipping through the air can't really control where she's going? Like, maybe the girls could have moved a little bit back. Maybe, if there was a botch, I don't think there was. It was the girls, not Charlotte.
No, I think it looked incredible. I think, and the garbage can off the top. You just think about how they built the tension to the moment. It really, that's storytelling to me, right? Her pulling the trash can up, having to stand and balance, giving that extra moment once she puts it on. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Of course she does it. That's how somebody takes and makes a move their own. Yeah. That's like saying, right, we know how many wrestlers, CM Punk used to do this elbow off the top rope onto a table to the outside. You do that in big moments, in big matches, when you're trying to pull out all the stops. That's that big extra move that you can only do sometimes, but that becomes a signature of yours, and we come to see that. Where else are you going to pull it out? You're in a War Games double steel cage. You're on the top. That's when you pull it out. That's why you do it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was going to say similar to Shane McMahon's Coast to Coast, but he does that in every match. So,
well, he only does that special. Once a year, so that's a big one. His jump off the top of the building to make his father love him. Those are all the big moves he has.
Look at me now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the like we were saying, the overall pay-per-view was kind of light heart, like just in terms of excitement. Like the excitement was that main event spot, and like I said, with the women taking and kind of opening the show that hot, like it kind of felt the men's match felt less than, which is, I don't know. Moving on, after that we had Gunther and Miz. Solid match, you know. Miz had some cool spots where it seemed like I almost convinced myself Miz was going to win.
Yeah.
I picked Gunther, but I was like, oh shit, he might win because I know Gunther's tired of the IC belt and wants to go for the big one, and you know, Miz kind of needs this babyface run to go well, and you know, I just almost convinced myself that he would win, but you know, as we saw, Gunther won.
Those two guys are great proof of showing just how good they are, because that match was an awesome wrestling match. It told a great story. You have two guys who are main event caliber, right? If Miz challenged for the world title, you wouldn't blink. You'd be like, of course he can challenge for that. Gunther is on his way to being a world champion with one of those two belts, depending on how it goes. Incredibly solid, hard hitting, just a great story too going into it. I loved that whole like Gunther going to Miz like, you're not even a real wrestler. Like, what are you doing? You're not a wrestler. I'm a wrestler. It's a very I loved that, man. That was a lot of fun, man.
That was a good match, and Gunther's finally like at a point where I think the crowd is into it now, because you know, for a while when he debuted, the crowd was kind of just mild. They weren't booing. They were just kind of like, whatever. It's Gunther.
Did you see any of his interview with Chris Van Vliet?
I
Because
did.
that was a really interesting look into Gunther and hearing how he talked about the change in his diet to take better care of his body, how he was approaching this and looking at it as this. He knew he was going to the next level, so he's stepping up his game, how he views himself within the context of that. It is very interesting, and this is where we'll probably get into this a lot later. It's very interesting for me to see where performers in this company choose to be in character and out of character, and how much the character are they playing, how much of it is them, how much are they turning that character up or down, when are they dropping it, and how. That's especially with such a large company who's done certain things a certain way for so long, right? Because he does that interview, he's kind of in character, but he's not really. He's himself talking about the character, but still.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think Gunther is kind of like Stone Cold, where it's the character is him. It's just amped up a little bit for TV. Mm-hmm. But, you know, but at home, I'm sure he's just as much of a, you know, strict kind of disciplined person that's just, hey, man, this is how it should be. And I don't really care what you think about your way. This is my way. And I love it. I love Gunther as a character. I do think I'm tired of them trying to split up Imperium. Gunther is great on his own, but the ring general needs to have soldiers. Yeah. You need to have the footman, the right-hand man, the fucking second in command, whatever it is. Like, I think that needs to be there. So I really hope they're not trying to split up Imperium, because, you know, Gunther coming out by himself, it doesn't feel right. Like, it's fine. He did great, but I want those dudes there. I like the intro. I like Ludwig Kaiser's, you know, the whole thing that he does. I got goosebumps at Mania when he did that, you know? So I just hope they don't try and split up Imperium. And if they do, get him some other soldiers then. I don't know.
Who would be the next soldiers you'd pick for Gunther?
Oof. I mean, I would give him the Creed brothers and just get rid of that, like, hey, we're amateur wrestlers gimmick, which is fine. It works for them, but, like, give them a better character, because just, hi, we're wrestlers from high school isn't really doing it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, after that, well, actually, before we move on, do you feel that there are too many people vying for the big title, or is that a good thing?
I think that everyone, if you're going to create a story, if the show is about wrestling, if these guys are wrestling, then everyone should be in some way talking about the championship. Nobody in the NBA, other than teams who know they're not competing, it's all about how do we get to the playoffs, how do we advance in the playoffs, how do we make it to the finals. That is every franchise's story in essence. Even the ones who are trying to build through the draft, right? The Spurs just drafted Wembanyama because what are they trying to do? They're trying to get back to the finals. So at any stage, you're trying to win a championship. And isn't that what creates the sport part of the sports entertainment, that it is all about going towards that belt? And at some point, whether you have the IC belt and you're like, I'm still coming for you. Look at my dominance here. I'm coming for the big belt next. Or just wait, LA Knight, just wait. I'm coming for gold one way or another, and it doesn't matter who's carrying it. We know everyone who just returned on Saturday, they're going to say the same thing, because at any point in your journey, that is where you're heading, whether you need to prove that you even are in that conversation or you have earned that, and now you're saying, wait, now it's my turn. So to me, that lends credibility to the whole thing. That gives the entire story purpose. So if Drew McIntyre or Jey Uso derailed you from your journey towards that title, now you have a reason to go wrestle them and say, you got in my way. I'm going to show you why. And then once I'm done with you, I'm going right back to the journey. That's how I think you create the stories.
Yeah, no, I agree. And
otherwise, you're lost just trying to come up with, and in wrestling, I was taught you can never say you hate someone, because that's not even a valid reason to want to fight or wrestle. So you can't just keep going, grudge match, blood feud, you got in my... No, I'm trying to get for the title. You took the title from me. Now I'm coming after you, and then I'm going back. I'm going for the title. I have to prove myself. I'm going through you. And once I beat you, I'll show them what a contender I am. I think that's always supposed to be the North Star. Otherwise, why are you wrestling, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm a weird. I've been working on this in therapy, just to, I think I have two. I don't think I have dissociative disorder or whatever, or split personalities or anything like that. I don't switch into someone else, but my brain is always split in two. Like, I'll sit there and I'll be like, man, the main event scene is overcrowded. We don't need that many people. But then I'm like, you know what? That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do feel that there's a lot of people vying for the world title. Gunther and everybody that came back, and even AJ Styles, who's not even in the picture. I still think that dude should be world champion. So it's I guess it all matters. It all depends on how they navigate this. Because look at my issue. The reason I bring this up with Cody, he just led the War Games match, won his dad's match. I'm going to finish the story, and here we are, out of nowhere, Nakamura. Like, as much as I love Nakamura, and I would like to see that match, I don't think this is going to help Nakamura, because I don't think he's winning this feud. Why would he? Why would you derail Cody that way? And also, why the fuck does Cody care that Nakamura's in a red room calling him out? Like, it just seems like filler. So that's what worries me when there's so many people in the main event picture. And Cody's entire character basically is, you know why I'm here. I'm here to finish the story, but you're not finishing it. You know what I mean? Like,
look, first off, it's all filler. Like the whole show is filler.
Yeah,
everything is filler, right? Not in a bad way, but everything is there to
fill up time,
kill time, right? To get to the end of the show till next week, and I totally understand that. Conversely, especially for, one of the things I talk about a lot with wrestling is I do my best. So, I go back to what got me into wrestling, the very first thing I liked and what I liked about it. And I know it's going to sound super corny and super cliche and obvious. I try to watch this through the eyes of 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10-year-old Eddie, because that's what got me into wrestling. And the best example I ever give is the first program that I got into where I started watching wrestling was Hulk Hogan versus Zeus. Hulk Hogan versus Zeus. If you look back now, you're like, that's probably some of the worst television ever, but you couldn't tell 5 and 6-year-old Eddie that wasn't the most incredible thing he'd ever seen. If you're a kid, because this is a kid's show first, 10-year-old Eddie goes, yeah, Nakamura just lost to Seth Rollins. He's trying to prove that he deserves another shot at the world title, and Cody says he's in the way, because if you go by the Scott Hall theory, Nakamura is that upper middle heel. He's vying for the world title, and you either have to go through him to get to that next heel, or you lose to him and you go back down and he projects back up. Miz kept that spot for a while. He was right below that world championship, that WWE heavyweight championship, and either you'd face him, go through him and get ready for it, or you'd lose to him, go back down. They were elevated, either they're the next program, or that's how you book going what's next for everybody. Nakamura's had a very rough road in WWE, but the guy who brought him in is now in charge and is looking to use him the way he brought him in to use them, that weird in between, but kind of evil, kind of devilish, kind of heel. He attacks Cody because he's like, I'm not done. I'm going back for the world title, and Cody's going to have to kill time. Yeah, because at the moment, what do we all think? We think it's Rollins and Punk and Cody and Roman 1 and 2 nights at WrestleMania. And if that is where they're going, whether it is or isn't, or something else happens, the next big event is Royal Rumble. Everyone's going to be in the Rumble, but in the meantime, everyone's vying for the best spot. They're trying to prove, if you go with the athletic storyline mode, they're all trying to prove why they're getting ready for Royal Rumble and WrestleMania and how they're doing it. And if you're Nakamura, what better way than to take out one of the top guys in the Rumble? You declared for it, I'm declaring for it, but I'm going to take you out beforehand. Now I better my position in the Rumble. 10-year-olds around the world, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same kind of mentality that I try to push on people for, like, Star Wars, for example. A lot of my friends complain about Star Wars, and they're, oh, it's trash now. And I'm like, because it's for children. Like, you like Star Wars because you saw it when you were a child, not now. Like, adults now that never saw Star Wars, and they go in and then see, like, a fucking, I don't know, Ahsoka. They're like, this is garbage. It's like, well, you got to watch it like a child.
I'm going to read you a text. I'm not going to tell you who it's from. It's from somebody who works at the company.
Okay.
We were talking about the event all weekend, and their final text to me the other day as we're talking about everything that's going on. No one hates wrestling more than wrestling fans. Same with Star Wars fans and etc. So it's exactly what you're saying. That's one of those, everybody has an opinion. Everybody, when you love it too much, you're
passionate.
It's like family. Family, right? We don't just know how to push our buttons. They're the ones who installed them.
Yeah.
So we fall in love for wrestling for doing those things, and then later those things push our buttons that they keep doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Moving back towards the card, we had Santos Escobar versus Dragon Lee, which was a great match, but like the whole build was kind of convoluted.
Do you know why it wasn't Carlito? Because I didn't know what happened, why they said Carlito and then it wasn't Carlito. Was there a reason for that?
They didn't really explain. I mean, there was a spot, I think, on SmackDown where like they beat up Carlito.
I remember that. I just figured you would know some behind the scenes, some
I'm
backstage
assuming he got injured.
Dirt sheet, but they announced it and then he would have had.
I don't know. I think
it was very confusing.
I thought
Dragon Lee was going to turn and join Escobar going forward as this new version of the LWO together. They were going to be, no, we're doing it over here, but it's a very, obviously they're building Escobar and he's awesome. It was just so confusing to me why it wasn't Carlito, because that would have been a great victory too.
Right. It was, I think, arguably a bigger victory because it's a legend. Dragon Lee, you're trying to build up as this new star, and now you're having him lose. Like, it was a weird mix. I'm thinking something happened behind the scenes. Carlito got injured, maybe on SmackDown. Maybe
wasn't cleared.
Rolled an ankle or something stupid like that, and then they just kind of quickly scrambled. But it didn't really make sense. But it's fine. I get it. They're trying to build, and you know, shit happens backstage that we are not privy to. That, you know,
or maybe this was their plan the whole time. And they're like, no, makes total sense.
Yeah,
I mean, makes total sense.
But I feel like this match, and as much as I love Santos, like that's my homie. We talk we don't talk every day, but we talk like 3 or 4 times a week now. And I love that he got a pay-per-view match or PLE match or whatever, but that match could have been on SmackDown. It didn't need to be on the card. Yeah. There was no stakes, really.
That's why this card felt light, because we know Roman wasn't going to be there. Logan Paul is on and off, which is okay, except he wasn't there, which is a lot of star power and a championship, a champion there with the U.S. title. LA Knight, for some reason, wasn't on the card, which makes sense if you're building something else for him and with him, but also it felt light. So here, this was the big match. Even Carlito would have felt a little bit more oomph of, you're taking out this legend, you're building this character.
It's a bigger part of the story because he's the one that caused the rift between him and Ray.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
maybe they're saving it. Maybe it was something else.
I think it was an injury. I think something happened backstage that we don't know about. But speaking of that and pushes that are being kind of stunted, Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark. I mean, fine match, but I guess they're done with Zoe, because right after that, I mean, we'll talk about it now. We're going to talk about Raw, but at Raw right after, Zoe got squashed by Nia. So I think they're just done with her.
That the match was incredibly fast and one-sided. It kind of ended before I felt it got going, and that's sometimes with characters like a Zoe Stark. You know, if her as a performer, her her height might not be for another 1 or 2 or 3 years anyway. And if this is somebody who is going to be at the company and build around long term, it might just be one of those first moments of, right, well, it was, oh, God, I can't remember her name now. Lacey Evans? Was it Lacey Evans? And sometimes you got to bring them along. You put them in that main event spot, see how they do, let them get the experience, and they go back to another thing, and then they go back. Building experience is important. As a comedian, you wouldn't go from open mics to theaters right away. You need to open on the road for somebody a couple times. You need to get the experience. You build as a performer. And for Zoe Stark, I think she performed incredibly well within that program, despite a very weird match to me. That match just didn't. I thought there was more meat on the bone, but they did what they were supposed to. And Rhea, you've said it. You said it. It really stuck with me when you said it. Like, that is a star on the highest level. We're talking one of the top 3 acts and wrestlers in the company and in the business right now. Who else do I tune in to watch? Great moment with her and Randy Orton the next night, where that crowd wanted him to RKO her so badly. That's to me, a sign of respect of how they just view Rhea as this unstoppable heel superstar. Like, Randy's here, RKO. You're out there, you're cashing in. She's performing on a whole other level.
She's the only female superstar that's working the male roster.
Yeah,
she's involved in the male storylines. I think WWE's kind of booking themselves into a corner, though, with her. Like, who beats Mommy? She's gone through everyone, pretty much. And, like, I mean, I guess eventually maybe a Becky or a Jade or I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Who beats her? Look, in terms of who beats her or where she goes, I think there's still a lot to continue to build how good she is. But if you become that standard bearer, if you are the top performer, we also know that you don't always have to have the title to be the top performer. You don't always have to be champion to be the number 1 spot. Right now, she's making that title matter because she keeps carrying it out. And I think I heard this theory on a different podcast. This was not Sam Wrestling. I heard this one. But the idea being that eventually you could see a return of a Sasha Banks. Jade Cargill is there. Becky Lynch is obviously there. You can redo her and Charlotte again. I don't think you would not tune in to see that on a big show.
Yeah.
My guess would be somebody like Rhea Ripley loses that championship to a Money in the Bank cash-in on her as well. So you might see her carry that through next year. Into the summer, and that could be a Money in the Bank cash-in. I'm sure Alexa Bliss would get a good pop, right? If she came back, that'd be a good pop, and you at least get that story. She comes out of nowhere, wins the briefcase, cashes it in that night unexpectedly. Rhea loses, and now you've got she's small. She keeps running from Rhea, but wait till Rhea gets her hands on her in the steel cage.
Yeah. I feel like if you do make her lose the belt, I think it has to be kind of shenanigans-y, like Money in the Bank or a Fatal 4-Way where she doesn't even get pinned. I think they should have her go after the other belt, too.
Oh, 100%.
Nami on top, all the way on top. Both belts.
You could absolutely, and she would be incredibly credible in that kind of a situation, the double champion, and where you could go with that.
Yeah. After that,
because that's look, if WWE does anything, they split the brands and then put them back together. They split the brands, they put them back together. They make 2 championships, they put them back together. They make them 2, do it again. It's a never-ending cycle. Just get used to it. So yes, she will win both, unify them, and then they'll split them again anyway. It doesn't matter. It's fine. Over and over again.
Yeah, that's how you
Randy Orton is going to be the new women's world heavyweight champion. That's and then he'll win the other. Then he'll put them together, and then they'll split them up, and then they'll draft different brands over and over. Don't worry. Yeah. Never-ending storylines from that.
That's true.
They split the brands. They're already back together. Randy Orton is going to be on SmackDown. It never matters.
It never matters. This time it's going to matter. Nope. This one mattered even less because it changed. The unification happened faster, and there's so many people that got drafted that haven't even showed. Like, where's Odyssey Jones?
Yeah.
What?
Who?
Yeah. Anyway, Men's War Games was the closing match. Well, like I said already, good match, but the women's one kind of overshadowed it. The babyfaces won, and like you mentioned, it was cool to see each babyface come out and get a giant pop.
They were so much more. I knew they were over, but I didn't really know they were over until Sami Zayn comes out and gets a huge pop. Jey Uso is, man, is there a tougher job than having to split up not just a tag team and not just brothers and family, but twins? Yeah. They broke up a twin tag team and elevated Jey to the place they wanted him to be in time that I didn't think it was going to happen that quickly and that easily, as a guy that I think going forward really is credible in the spot that he's in. Obviously, Cody is over, and I've been a little slower to get there with Cody, but I am, after this match and after his stuff on Monday, feeling a little bit more, for me, like I'm connecting with Cody and where he's at and what he wants to do than I was when he came back and when he got injured and came back again and the Royal Rumble. And it's that storytelling and that long-term positioning. If he had beat Roman at WrestleMania last year, I wouldn't have believed in him. Now I'm getting to the place where maybe I think he could be, although, again, never let it be said. The evil genius, Eddie Furth, says Roman Reigns should keep that belt until he dies. That man should never get rid of that belt. But Cody is over. Jey was over. Sami was over. Seth is clearly over, and it felt big once they all came out. That felt as big as it should have and as they wanted it to. And then I think that match was spectacle and main event WWE storytelling at its finest. Right? That moment where Sami Zayn was going up to the top, and what did J.D. McDonough do? He stopped him. The heel stopped the face from giving the fans what they wanted, which was him jumping off the top. And then you have all these other little setups with all that little close camera work, the cinematic stuff that they're ushering in, the faces, the things, all of those moments, which lead to my favorite moment on Monday night in the cinematic shooting of a TV show. I thought that one was really awesome. I think the only part of that really threw me was the finish, and that's when I was really convinced Damian was going to cash in and win because he got pinned. Some of the weapons and how they bring them in, and how Damian has a baton. How's that supposed to matter more than the chair they brought in? Yeah, sure, but I loved how they teased Randy coming or not coming, so that if you didn't know, it was a good enough mystery and reveal for Randy Orton. And if you did know, you had that one moment. I got plenty of texts like, you think it might be Punk? And I was like, no, it's going to be Orton. Don't worry. Like, I was convinced Punk wasn't showing up, but I liked that they gave Randy the pop and the entrance he deserved by holding him off.
Yeah.
And the simplicity of, he's late, I don't know this. Wait, is Randy, of all people, is Randy really going to show up for us? He said he would, but you and I both know comedians who say they're going to be at a show, and the day of, when they text and say they're not going to be there, like, oh, yeah, I knew you weren't going to be there. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Of course you were going to cancel. But when they do show up, they electrify the room, and all of a sudden you're like, that's why we put you on the poster. That's why we call you in. That's why you're as good as you are, because when Randy shows up, cathartic for everybody, you know?
Yeah.
I thought they played that moment really well. So you have all of these stories and all of these moments. Jey Uso is over, you know. Seth is the fighting champion, but we know he's hurt. And Sami has elevated himself. And this is Cody in his father's match, trying to prove that he is what he feels he is. He's called in a favor from one of the guys that he has familial connections to. And in his match, in this moment, Orton comes out. I thought this was a beautiful story, and had it ended when they put that little logo up and it said copyright 2023, I would have been like, I get it. I get that this was the show and they built it on Orton's return, and I guess we're in a good spot going into Royal Rumble.
Yeah. I loved that they held off Randy. I am going to try and make a more concerted effort to purposefully stop myself from, looking at social media before a pay-per-view, because I'm ruining it for myself.
Why?
The whole mystery of will he or won't he show up for Randy was ruined when Kim Orton posted herself, who I follow, is posting herself in the arena like, I'm like, Kim ain't leaving the house if Randy's not showing up. You know that.
But did you feel he might not actually show up? Like, did you? Because I felt once Cody went out on Monday night and said it was Orton, I felt like I knew we were going to see him. It was just a matter of how do we bring him out. And I said this to you. I would have said it to you. And outside of anything else, I still stood by it, even though I know they made the right decision overall. I thought the big thing was he was going to show up and then he was going to turn on Cody. That's where I was like, oh, that's what. But did you feel like once Cody said it was him, it might not be him?
Before obviously Kim's post, I thought he might just no-show because of Jey Uso. They might show a video package of him like, Cody, did you really think I was going to team up with this fucking guy? He just put me on the shelf. No, I'm sorry. And then like Cody makes another phone call and boom, Punk. You know what I mean? But it worked out. I think it worked out great. Randy looks amazing, more jacked than ever, and in the best shape of his life. And then on the way out, he kind of did the 10 more years. So I'm like, all right, if you think so. I don't know if I want to see Randy in his 50s, but sure.
Well, if Randy's a 7 to 12 time a year guy, that's different. Then if you got 6 matches, and a couple of appearances, if he's on the Brock schedule, which he also should be, Randy doesn't need to be a TV match every Monday night. The way Punk, if he's back, or did Punk return? The way Punk doesn't need to wrestle every Monday night to be great. He needs to come in for big shows. He needs to cut a promo once or twice a month. He needs to be that John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns schedule, and then that allows the space for guys like Gunther and LA Knight and your day in, day out wrestlers, your Jey Usos, to be, because that's the new model of building stars in the WWE. You have the guys who are wrestling and the women who are wrestling, the wrestlers who wrestle every single day, every week, every month, house shows, Monday nights, Friday nights, pay-per-views. You have the big stars who come back on the limited schedule and either beat them or lose to them to help whatever storyline is going on, but you're building by being there every week. Cody and Jey need to be there every week. Randy doesn't need to be there every week. He's going to come in for War Games, and it feels big for everybody.
Yeah.
It's the giving the rub to Jey Uso. They'll go into a program, and at the end, he'll shake his hand and be like, all right, kid, you got it.
Yeah.
You know, the way Brock did with Cody. That's how you build those next superstars. And by the way, Damian Priest is on the top of my list now. Damian Priest is a world champion. He is so obviously the next version of Scott Hall and Kevin Nash put into the same wrestler on that next level. I am so impressed with how he has grown and where he is at. Like, I am a big fan of his. Whatever he does next, I am fully behind him being one of the stars of the future on both sides of that title belt.
Yeah, we need a good, strong heel like him around anyway. I honestly, and maybe I'm reading a little too much into this because I am Latino and I grew up a certain way where when he pulled out that baton, I connected. And I don't know if it was intentional. I connected because growing up in the hood as a Latino, I had a baton that I needed to carry around.
Really?
Literally the same one, the ones that you fucking extend out. Because I would get jumped or get in a fight or whatever, and I would always have to and like, you know, threaten to fight someone. I've hit a few people with it, so I connected. I was like, "Fuck yeah, that's that hood shit." So I thought that was a good moment, but I don't know if it was intentional. You know what I mean? Like it just felt right to me as growing up that way. And then obviously, you know, the big pop, CM Punk. I got to tell you, they did a good job of warding us off. I thought he wouldn't show. I was like, he's not going to show up. There's no way he's going to show up. I know it's Chicago, and I know it's been teased a million times, but I think that's why he's not going to show up, because it's been teased. And then he showed up. Big pop, huge pop, all my friends messaging me. My phone blew up because everybody knows I don't like the guy. And, oh, my God, listen to that pop. It's the biggest pop in the world. I'm like, because they're in Chicago, let's see how it goes Monday night. Let's see. And lo and behold, it wasn't as big. That pop was not as big than it was at Survivor Series on Monday Night Raw. I know you like the guy. And we'll
That's interesting. We'll actually get into this. I'm not predisposed. CM Punk isn't actually a guy that I have been behind and in support of. He has not connected and resonated with me nearly as much over the years. And going into this, I want to hear your thoughts. I've got plenty on Punk, but I want to start. I am not I'm a Cena guy. Cena can do no wrong in my eyes. Roman, incredible. CM Punk, I've been behind at times, but I also find him a very difficult performer to understand a few things about when it comes to why I'm investing in the character and the performer behind the character, because I think that's where my biggest confusion with CM Punk is. He strikes me as a performer who believes his character is real and really him and doesn't separate the real from the fictionalized enough so that when it is real, I don't know, and you're taking the wrong things personally and seriously and real. I am not predisposed to be a CM Punk guy because I do love him. I do think he's good, but a lot of the stuff, and it comes from how he handled himself on the way out, how he handled himself when he was there back then, what he did in AEW. I wanted him to be great, but never felt like it was really hitting. I want to hear yours. I'll go into deeper. So you're not a Punk guy. You're not a. Tell me your feelings on Punk overall.
I'll start with I missed his entire run.
Got it.
Never saw the run. I watched the pipe bomb thing externally. I wasn't part of, like, I wasn't watching, so I didn't know what the story was. I had friends that were like, dude, you got to see this. And I watched and I was like, why should I be impressed? Like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, because Vince. Blah, blah, blah. Like, Stone Cold did this way better. Like, what are you showing me right now? And then, the Colt Cabana thing, blah, 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 blah. And then over the years, I kind of like, you know what? Let me give him a shot because everybody loves the guy. Let me give him a shot. Didn't like his straight edge character. I think obviously the rock and roll beer guy is not going to connect with the straight edge savior. So as by the way, everything I'm going to say moving forward, Phil Brooks as a person, I don't know him. He could be a great guy. I'm not talking about Phil Brooks. I'm talking about CM Punk.
Although that's the hardest thing to tell is I don't think the way he has presented those things make it easy enough to tell if he believes there's that much of a difference between the two because he's talked about. To me, CM Punk has always been like Bret Hart, where they believed the character was real, and that's where they got lost. Mm-hmm. They didn't believe in the right. Randy Orton, we'll talk about the moment, but you can see a real moment for Randy, and with Phil and CM Punk, I don't know where the line is blurred, but I don't know if I think he knows where it is. That's where I don't connect. That interview with Colt Cabana, I was listening to that Colt Cabana podcast on my way here today because we were going to talk about it. I rewatched The Return. I rewatched the promo. I rewatched his AEW return promo, and I rewatched the pipe bomb, and then started listening to the podcast to kind of get the whole story of him. And if you listen to that podcast with Cabana, he's complaining about things happening to his character, but they're happening to him as a person. So if you're telling me, I don't think that podcast was done in character to further the character storyline. That was actually him, but he's talking about how he didn't get the WrestleMania match, but the character didn't get it. It's very tough. The championships have to matter, and stand-up and wrestling are very much like this. It's you, but you're also a character, and finding the ways to pull those two apart, because we also have to be ourselves on stage. They work the best when it is just you. John Cena really is hustle, loyalty, and respect. That's a character, but if you look at his career, he worked hard, he respected everyone around him, and he was loyal to the company that made him, and that's what propelled him. That's real, but you have to find where that line is, which is incredibly difficult. So that's the similarities as a performer. I can understand, I can relate, and I can feel for him, but he's not presented to me because I don't think CM Punk, the character, is supposed to be a Blackhawks fan in Nashville. I think Phil Brooks is a Blackhawks fan in Nashville. And if you're going to bleed the real person into the character, I don't think that's helping your case for me. And we're connoisseurs. We're not casual fans. We know the difference between each wine. We know why this red is $20 and that one's $100 when it comes to wrestling. But that's where I don't connect. I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me. That's where and I'm not sure if Phil Brooks is that good of a person because he also seems to piss off everyone he works with. And I want to root for him. He's that good. He can be that good on the mic, in the ring.
Yeah. Look,
Cole's a great commentator. Leave Michael Cole alone.
Michael Cole's the best. I was being political.
Yes. And I interrupted with a rant.
No.
Please
I was
keep
just
going.
being. I was just being political.
I've asked for your thoughts on CM Punk twice and interrupted. I see. Tell me about Punk.
No. I was just being political with the Phil Brooks thing because I'm not the type of person to hold grudges or have enemies. I don't have enemies. I always give someone a second shot. So in that respect, I would say if Phil Brooks were to come up to me and be like, "Hey man, what the fuck?" I would have a pleasant conversation with the guy and talk, and maybe he'd be great. I don't like him as a character, and if he is like his character, then I probably don't like Phil Brooks either. But I'm not going to talk shit about Phil Brooks. I'm going to talk shit about Punk. And I felt, and my wife, who doesn't watch wrestling, she watches occasionally when I have it on. She'll walk by. She'll be like, "Oh, what's going on with Paul Heyman?" Like, I like Paul. He's cool, but she's not involved. She doesn't know the storyline. She doesn't know what's going on. When Cult of Personality hit at the end of SummerSlam, she's like, "Really?" That was her reaction. I was like, exactly. Mine, I feel the same way. Like, really? Like, God, did we not learn anything? And that's when it hit me, and I texted you. CM Punk is the Donald Trump of pro wrestling, and this is why. I'm not getting political. It has nothing to do with political views, policies, economics, none of that shit. I'm going off of Trump the character. The fact that he can go on national television and say, "I can shoot somebody and not lose a vote." He's right. That's Punk. I can go get fired from my job, talk shit about the company to my boss's face, and I'm talking about WWE. He leaves, goes to AEW, does the same thing, talks shit about the company in front of his boss, gets fired, and they just bring him back. He could do no wrong. The guy is just, they'll always, "Oh, CM Punk." Like, that's Trump fans. Those are Trump fans. The guy is making fun of handicapped people on national television, saying misogynistic and racist things, talking about shooting people in public and grabbing pussies, and everybody's like, "Fuck yeah, let's vote." Like, that's what CM Punk is. He's the same thing. Like, he can do no wrong. And I, as a non-fan of the character, can sit back and be like, "What? What are you guys doing? Why are you cheering for this man?" I get it in Chicago. I get it. It's his home. Big pop. Great. Monday Night Raw, not as big of a pop because it's not his hometown. Comes out, does his promo. Kind of shit promo. Babyface bullshit promo. "Hi, guys. I'm home." I could look him in the eyes. I was looking at him directly in the eyes as he was cutting that promo. And I like to consider myself a good judge of character when I talk to people or when I see their eyes. It all felt fake. And maybe that's part of the character because I had people hitting me up, "That's him working you, bro. He's a heel." No. You know what it felt like when I looked in his eyes? It felt like when I'm pumping gas here in LA and I hear, "Hey, big man." I know what's coming. I know who that is. I look him in the eyes. I know he's not going to be like, "Oh, I love your podcast." No, that dude's going to come ask me for money, or he's desperate, needs help, needs gas, whatever it may be. When I hear, "Hey, big man," and I look up, I know what's coming. That's how I felt. I felt desperation in CM Punk. I felt please don't fire me again. This is my last shot. That's the vibe I got while watching that promo. "I'm home. I love you. Everybody in the back loves me." Bullshit. Everybody in the back loves me. All this shit. I don't buy any of it. And the reason I've never bought into CM Punk is he pushes himself as this punk rock guy. Like, I'm punk rock. I'm anti-establishment. But I'm also only here to make money and not friends. That's not very punk rock of you, sir. Same shit he said over in AEW. "You can be the heart and soul. I'll be the dollars and cents." Yeah, because you're a fucking poser. That's why. You're not punk rock. I can't buy into anything you're selling me because you're not genuine. You're desperate. You've been fired twice, and this is your last final attempt to do something right. Of course you're going to be nice to everybody in the back because you know you're going to get fired. Give it a couple months to see what happens when they force him to go to Saudi Arabia and job out to fucking Roman Reigns. We'll see how well that goes backstage.
As long as he makes Roman look strong.
Yeah. Like, that's my issue, man. Like, I feels disingenuous. He feels fake. And I'm not alone. I posted it on the page. Wrestle Talk, Ollie Davis, shout out to him. I watch Wrestle Talk every day. I think that's one of my favorite. I like British people talking about wrestling. Ollie Davis is the biggest CM Punk mark in that entire company. And he came out and said, I don't know. I just don't buy it. It feels fake. You sold out. You sold out and went back to WWE. You have now discredited your entire gimmick. Your gimmick was fuck WWE. I felt more passionate about the AEW return promo because I'm like, okay, look, I don't like him, but he said fuck WWE. He left and he went to the competition. He's going to be there and to build them up. Let's give him a shot. That's how I went into the AEW run. And he kind of, with the MJF feud was great. I'm like, all right, maybe Punk wins me over with this run. And then he shat all over everything. And then he's back in WWE. Like, nothing I hate more than sellout posers. Anyway, that's where I'm at.
Everything you are saying is how I felt in the moment and afterwards. After the shock of, because I had the same thing. My phone rang right away, and my friend Kevin and I just laughed like idiots. The same way when Roman beat Cody at WrestleMania, and my phone just starts ringing, and we just start laughing like we're 6-year-olds, just giggling like children. I felt the same way fully. Like, I don't want to hear that you're an indie artist. I don't want to hear that you have integrity and all of those things. That's not saying that I don't fully understand why he would, as a person, just on an emotional level, go back to that company at a certain point, let alone the financial and the other reasons. You did just lose another job. I had that same reaction of just, it felt like, oh, this is really cool, but also didn't you swear up and down this place was terrible? The minute that really got me was the picture of him and Triple H. I'd never seen a photo of a guy who looked like he regretted his decision more. Like, he just didn't want to take that photo and realized, oh, I'm going to have to do all this bullshit again. It just, it felt like immediately. And you know that Norm Macdonald joke about daylight savings time? Norm Macdonald, every time it's daylight savings time, he'll go, I give it 6 months. I kind of felt that way as soon as I saw Punk. I was like, all right, it's like daylight savings time. Give it 6 months. This is not... That's where I feel the bleeding of the character and the person. It's why I feel like he believed that the character was real and was him the way Brett felt it. Like, you are not losing the title. You're not less valuable, but there has to be a story, and this person has to either win or lose, and either you have a job and you keep coming to work and you go up and down, but overall you're working in a business where eventually you're going to have to retire because physically you can't do it anymore. But I had that same reaction right away. It didn't feel... It was almost like a womp womp. Like, oh, you came back after everything you've done, after all the trash you talked directly to them, while you then went to a different company, the one that's supposed to provide you the creative freedom that you swore you always wanted, and it was going to be better, and you listed guys you wanted to wrestle. And there's a big difference to me between because I'll tell you right now, where I started and where I have wound up on the weekend is very different. Only in that the television show I think I'm about to watch just got incredibly interesting. You talked all about how AEW was the spot, and within 6 months, you're on there. I've sent this quote to people who don't even watch wrestling. I'm tired, I'm hurt, and I work with fucking children. That's how, oh my God, haven't we all? That's a meme forevermore, and I don't even think he planned the meme, but thank God you gave me that, because I use that at least once a week. I'm tired, I'm hurt, I work with fucking children. That's the best thing ever. And it turned so fast that all of a sudden now and I don't really know what happened to get him fired. I don't know if it's because he put his hands on Luke Perry's kid. I don't know if it's because he lunged at Tony Khan or if it was because it felt unsafe backstage. But whatever drove you to not work there anymore, isn't it that much worse what you have to face in the place you said wasn't good, except for the fact that we know the company is very different from the one he left? It is not run by the same person. It's not run the same way as it was run. The protocol is different, which is why when it came to the Seth Rollins thing, I was like, oh my God, no, this is storytelling. This is theater in the round. They know that video is going to get out, but it's off the air, so it feels real and is going to fuel a storyline, both the story version that the kids are going to take in, which is CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, and that off-camera thing that we might start to believe, which is Phil And forgive me, I don't know Seth's real name. I forget it. It was
Tyler?
Tyler. Is it Tyler?
I don't know. It was Tyler Black before. I don't know if
That
that's also
thing where we think they might not like each other is actually fueled as well. I was not on board at first, but as the weekend went, as I watched Monday night, I thought the promo Monday night, save for some very small things, and then if you go back, that's why today I went back and watched the AEW thing, because seeing Edge go to AEW, and by the way, that's how you leave a company, if you really want to talk about it. I believe that Adam Copeland went to WWE and said, I'm getting towards the end of my in-ring days. You guys have given me more opportunity than I can ever imagine. I'd like to go try this other thing to see what it's like, but you know I'm coming back. I don't want to burn this bridge, but I'd like to try something else. And I believe there was a professional decorum and respect there. And on his way out, he gets to use Rated R Superstar. He still has music. And we know he's coming back to go in the Hall of Fame. He might even get another retirement match out at WWE versus suing them, going on a podcast, berating them, going back to a different company, saying this is how business is really done, getting into a fight with that company, then coming back here. But the difference between his promo on Monday night and the AEW promo, to me, is the difference between those two companies, which is when you have a different level of writing and storytelling and organization, it's harder for me to relate to stories of I'm coming to wrestle because I want to wrestle some people here versus I'm coming because I have something to settle. And it seems like every time I see a wrestler go to AEW, the first thing they do is they walk in and they go, I want to wrestle some young guys and I want to test myself and be here to elevate the new. And that's not a compelling story. Wrestling for the sake of wrestling isn't nearly as compelling as saying, I'm home, I'm back. I had to admit to myself I needed to be here. It felt shinier and brighter and more polished. The two promos are wildly different, and it wound up with him talking about how, no one here, what a great way to set it up. Instead of, I want to test myself against Darby Allin, he came in and said, you can't say you're the best in the world because I haven't been here. And now everyone who has won a championship or has been successful in the past 10 years, he's literally putting them all on notice, going, you can't say anything because I wasn't here. And now he's set up actual storylines, which is what Seth Rollins was doing. There's no reason to bring somebody in if they're coming in just to be there. They have to come in and have a reason. And they did it Saturday night, Sunday, and Monday. And now I am completely excited to see Seth Roman, LA Knight, Cody, just name the people, and he has a reason to be there with them. And I think that the return didn't feel as good, but the stories going forward, I think the television is very interesting because I don't think he's going to be there every day. I don't think we're going to see him until Rumble actually wrestle, but we know he can. There might be one other show he does. But going in now, we have a contender for the title, a guy with a vendetta, a guy who's put everybody on notice. There's already the main champion that he's coming up against, Rollins, is already pissed off and yelling at him twice in one weekend, once on Monday night, talking about, I'm not even going to spend time on you. It felt polished and ready to tell the story of what we're doing instead of a guy just coming back and saying, I'm here to wrestle Darby Allin. And that one fell flat to me. But this one, I had very similar criticisms. I like what he does, and I've always appreciated him as a performer, but he's not connected in some of the ways that it sounds like he's done business in front of the crowd and behind the scenes has never really resonated with me the way that I think it could because of how good he actually could be. He's very good. He's amazing. And he's just, there were those little things. But going now, like, there's 3 matches, and if he came back and in the next year wrestled those 3 matches, I'd be like, you got whatever money you want out of it. He's been talked about ad nauseum. I went back and watched all old stuff. It felt exciting in a different way that there's very few things that could happen that would make it feel as exciting as that moment.
Well, I mean, there's a Cuban saying, para gusto los colores, which is for taste. That's why we have different colors. You felt that way. I honestly, look, I mean, there's a few points that while you were talking that came up. The videos of Rollins from the fans, I almost bought into it only because Rollins is a babyface and he was cursing in front of children. And that's why I was like, this has got to be some kind of like if you're doing this on purpose, you're kind of tarnishing your baby face by
which
making
is
him
why
curse in
it
front of
was
children.
done off camera and the footage leaked accidentally. But that's how you use, whenever somebody's like, I hate social media. No. As performers, as creatives, that's how you use this
Sure,
theater
yeah.
in the round to tell this story, where it leaks to the people who are watching it like us, but to the people who just tune in on Monday night, they saw him Monday night say, I'm not even going to waste my time on him because you haven't even been here. That's a pro wrestling storyline. And for the people who really get involved, we got 2 videos Saturday night and Sunday with him talking trash where it seemed real. That's theater in the round. That's storytelling on that 3-dimensional level, where in AEW, there was a real backstage fight and people really got fired over it. Punk fought twice in real. That's why it felt real, because they said, all right, we're going to take this element that was real, and we're going to do a storyline version of it. Rollins is too professional to do that stuff. He's that good of a performer, the way Rhea Ripley was that good of a performer to also mock him in that moment. There's now CM Punk is like a one-man NWO coming in and nobody wants him. What an interesting, and yet the fans want him. Now you're telling this. But yeah, those videos, man, I wanted to believe Seth Rollins would fire up.
I almost believed the Seth Rollins one. The one that I didn't believe right away is the one that also started going viral on the internet, and I will call you out right now so you fans settle the fuck down. Drew McIntyre wasn't leaving upset. He was holding his head. I'm pretty sure he got hurt and was running to the back to medical to get checked out. Also, the camera guy waving him off, no. He wasn't waving him off. I've worked cameras before. When you're like this for 45 minutes, you lose the blood in your hand. Your hand goes numb, and the best way to get it back is by going like this. And that's what he was doing. He was going like this, like getting that blood back in his hand. He wasn't waving off Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre wasn't just huffing and puffing out of the arena. He was holding his head. He was like this, and I think he got hurt. I think that's just all it was, but people fucking read into it and blew up like, oh, Drew's mad and Seth Rollins mad and Rhea's mad. Like, when I saw the Drew stuff and the footage, that's when I realized it's all a work. That's when I was like, oh, the Seth thing is probably a work then, even though I wouldn't have had him curse in front of children. That's fine. Moving away from that. The best in the world thing would have worked for me. What you were saying, that he's the best in the world and you can't call yourself that because I haven't been here in 10 years. That would have worked for me if his last few matches weren't dog shit. He botched so many spots in his last few matches. He showed that he doesn't have it anymore. In fact, I think one of his last matches was a tag match. He did a buckshot lariat and fucking shattered his ankles. Like, the dude doesn't have it anymore. So when you come in here like, I'm the best in the world, and you guys can't, like, I don't buy it, bro. You suck. You haven't done anything in the last 3 years or whatever long it was that you were in AEW. I don't buy it. I don't think he has what it takes. Before AEW, he lost 2 MMA matches. I don't think you're the best in the world. Maybe it's on me for knowing too much information and watching his AEW run. Like, I'm not viewing it in the lens of a child that only watches WWE that's on TV. I'm watching everything that's happening with his career, which means I know what's coming in there. And again, the disingenuous feeling, the fake, I'm the best in the world. No, you are not. No, you are not. There are 25 guys better than you in that roster. So that's why, to me, that promo didn't work. It felt flat. It felt like when we got here, our producers were like, yeah, you know, there's an agreement that was signed with Tony Khan where, you know, they asked him, what do you think about Punk? And he said, I can't talk about it legally. So there is a non-disparagement clause somewhere in their legal problems that they're having with AEW where Punk cannot deliver the promo that we wanted. And that's the other issue. Michael Cole and all these people were hyping it up. We're going to have CM Punk with a live microphone. So you know what that means, because everybody knows what that means when CM Punk has a live microphone. He's going to talk some shit. And what happened? He came out like, oh, I'm home. I love you guys.
Except,
I love the guys in the back.
I, as a wrestling fan, I don't think there's anything, it doesn't do him any service to talk about AEW.
He doesn't have to mention him by name. Look at what Cody's doing.
But it doesn't even matter. Like, him talking about any of that doesn't service him in any way. Even talking about, I came back and it didn't feel the same, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't further his storyline, his development, his character. There's no reason for him to talk about that in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, there is, because he's pushing himself as the controversial figure. He's the controversial one. He's the one that they literally said those words on TV. The controversial CM Punk.
So what's the story? What does he say? What did you want to hear him say that would have serviced what he's about to do?
Look, I went over there. I went to something like what Cody's been doing. Cody's been alluding to AEW his entire run, and how he was an EVP and his buddies did something else, and we went on a journey. And he could have done it like that. You don't need to give them.
But what did you want to hear him say?
People
that would
over
have
there,
serviced why he's here.
The
because,
people over there
remember,
didn't.
He got fired from there, so there's nothing that you didn't. He didn't win the situation to come back here. So once you bring it up, you also have to be like, I fucked up and got fired. That's kind of why I'm here.
No, he could have gone the route of, hey, I was so controversial that I became a world champion, and they denied me that. And I had to come back with my real world champion. Like, he could have used all of those elements.
But how does that help? Let's pretend he doesn't, because we know he can't. We know legally he can't. But if he could, and it's because he got fired from there, he's like, I'm so controversial that they fired me, so I had to come back to a place I can be less controversial by nature.
Well, that's
so you know what I mean? Like, they can still, like, they can call him controversial, but there's only so controversial he can actually be on this television.
Don't call him that. Then just
but
fucking
he's
bring him in.
Controversial for their television. What you're asking for is the controversial version. We know they're not rated R just yet. They're going to go PG-13 again.
But
I just think that in a storytelling format, if you're writing a TV show and I had him, I'd be like, we aren't going to be better off if he mentions anything about that. He's coming back to our TV for the first time. All he needs to talk about is this. And I do agree with you that while he is not necessarily the best in the world, that promo for me, what it serviced was the reason I'm here and what I'm going to do. It was a mission statement that is serviced better than the mission statements that I've heard when somebody goes from WWE to AEW. Because when Adam Copeland switched over, I was all interested, and he came out and he gave what I consider the AEW promo, which is, I showed up here because there's a lot of young talent. I want to wrestle. And that's not a mission statement and a reason to go out. But when you come back and you say, wait a minute, I have claim to being best in the world in my eyes, and I'm going to come out. Now, all of a sudden, that's a tension builder, which is what you're supposed to do in storytelling, is build tension into it. And if you build tension and release it right, a story is great. Hitchcock would agree more with, I'm the best in the world and you can't say it, than him coming back and being like, I got fired from somewhere else, so I came back because it's the only place that offered me money. Yeah. That's not the same story. You can't. There's nowhere to go if you go the other route.
But it's a different product, too. We also got to consider that. AEW isn't doing what WWE is doing, and it's fine because it's a pro wrestling company, not an entertainment company. So the lame Adam Copeland, I'm here to wrestle, to you is not compelling because you're a WWE fan and you were expecting that from AEW, I think, in a certain way. You're expecting that kind of product, but it's not. It's about wrestling. It's not really the storytelling. It's about who's the best professional wrestler.
I disagree. I think that both of them are stating the same things, but when you state them in a way which is, it's like doing a second draft on a script or getting better writers for a TV show. That's why some TV shows are better than others, because your writers are better, and for all the criticism that WWE gets for its writing, in this instance, they wrote a better story for somebody than when Adam Copeland went somewhere else and nobody wrote a better version. That's a first draft. Then you go in on the second draft and you go, okay, that might be the case, but what is it? What you're missing is going, I feel I still got it and I need to prove myself, and that's a different story than I want to be this, I want to do that. I don't, CM Punk, and let's just compare those two stories. Coming back because I want to wrestle Darby Allin because he's a young guy is much different than I'm coming back because you all say you're the best in the world, but you haven't beaten me yet. Now you're talking about the generation you missed out on wrestling, your Seth Rollins, your Roman Reigns, all of these other next level talents that built their name in the time you were gone. You're coming back and going, oh no, you say you're the best in the world? Well, you got to prove yourself against me, which is possible to do in WWE. John Cena comes back and you got to prove it. Brock Lesnar shows up. Undertaker famously year in and year out would come back, and one match a year you would still have to go through Taker to say you were that good one way or another. So the difference to me in the storytelling is simple, that it's not just about a different product. It's that a better version of storytelling is giving a more compelling reason to get in that ring than there's a bunch of young, interesting talent and I want to try to wrestle them. Because that's talking about wrestling versus going, oh, I think I can beat them. And if you really think you're good, Darby Allin or Seth Rollins, come through me. Come at me. Try me. Because then it's the reason in wrestling you don't call your opponent old. You just don't do it. You can't say you would do it in one place and not the other. You just don't do it because it doesn't better your storyline. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at trying to make the most compelling, tension-building, intriguing story around why they're going to wrestle.
I get it. And look, that is one way of looking at it. You have a particular type of story that you like. I am in agreement with you, by the way. I'm not giving this point to go against you. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate because I really do enjoy AEW. And AEW to me is a completely different thing where you can announce Minoru Suzuki is going up against Jon Moxley, and I'm going to go, fuck yeah, I'm tuning in because I want to see that. I don't need a story for that. It's the same reason I go to watch local shows, indie shows. I go because I want to see the Speedball Baileys versus the once in a lifetime Ospreay and Bailey. Like I'll be like, fuck, I want to see that just because I want to see the athleticism. I want to see the what they're gonna do. I don't need Ospreay went to Speedball Bailey's house and fucked his mom. Like I don't need a story. I just want to see the athleticism, and I think that is what Tony Khan wants. That's what that product is. It's just, hey, look. What other story? Edge is old. I know you don't say it, but he's old. So I want to see him going up against the young guys. I don't need much more than that. I just, all right, cool, yeah, let's see him.
I agree with that, but I think that I think you end up doing the product itself
a disservice?
A disservice in the sense of like, MJF and Kenny Omega should have been one of their biggest matches of the year, and I don't know why they're wrestling. I'm kind of confused as to how and why MJF turned face. I don't know what's going on, and here they had this opportunity to make something which is, by all accounts, that's a WrestleMania level. That, you know what I mean, right? That's their big show of the year, given away on free television with no build. That is a different... not just a different version, but a different level where I think you actually hurt what you're trying for by not recognizing that, look, you could say it happens in real sports, but Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather, they make sure that even Logan Paul, when he boxes, you make sure that there's a reason you want to see them fight each other past it's just a match. And the most compelling stories in sports come with a history. We wanted to see Kobe and LeBron go against each other, and yet they never made it to the finals against each other. It mattered when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird faced off against each other. It matters when John Elway Peyton Manning and Tom Brady go against each other in the Super Bowl. That matters different because there's a history and a story and a reason, and those things actually matter in a way that when you exclude them from the story. And MJF and Kenny is a great example to me of, you can put on a great match with great wrestlers, two of the best in the world right now at wrestling. They're in the top 10, 20 wrestlers in the world right now, and yet why wasn't that the most important thing that ever happened? What better match do you guys have in the company? And if those are your top two guys, top three guys, how on earth did that not have something else going on around it to make it feel important? These things have to feel important, or else it's a match on Monday Night Raw, which is what Steve Austin said about him and Brock. That's why he walked out years ago. Oh, you're going to put me and Brock on free TV with no build? That makes no sense. That's not why you're here, which is to build money. Make this a blood feud. Make this matter. He stole my opportunity. I got to prove myself as a legend. He's the young... anything. And so why did MJF and Kenny even wrestle that night? It was just booked as a championship match?
No, there was a story, but it was very small and insignificant, and it was that MJF beating Kenny's reign, the amount of days... They built it up.
This was Kenny's last chance to get him to not beat his record?
Yes. And they kind of built it.
That's at least a 2-month build then.
They built it a little bit on BT. I think it was BT. I don't know. But there was like 2 or 3 times where Kenny and MJF crossed path backstage. And MJF would be like, hey, man, good to see you, whatever. 14 days, bitch. And then he's like, Kenny, the first time he did it, Kenny was like, what the fuck? And then they did it again, and then Kenny's like, oh, I see what he's doing. And then it led to the match. But it was literally like a 2-week build with like very little fanfare, very small.
And the only thing I'm saying in the difference between the two companies, because I keep up on AEW, is if you use that as the example, the difference to me and why I thought the Punk promo on Raw was strong and why I didn't connect with that first AEW return promo is there was a very clearly stated thing within that promo, and it all felt real enough but story enough to go, I returned, I'm home. I don't even want to admit that I feel home. And I do think he stumbled in a few areas. I would have completely axed that thing about hockey. I think when you, like a comedian, you get on stage, the first thing you say is the most important thing because it sets the tone. And when he's like, hell froze over because I'm standing here with a live microphone, that's your immediate into, you guys have cheered for me, I'm home and I don't want to admit it. And the reason I came home is because I see all of these people saying that they're better than me, that they're the best, that they're great, but I'm the best in the world and I'm here to show you that. That's where I go, well, that's a real story then. That
was a better promo than CM Punk did on Monday Night Raw.
Well, because I just edited, I edited the 6 minutes that he didn't need.
I think you made the points that should have been made, and I felt like you said he started. So here's the other thing: the die-hard CM Punk fans are coming up and saying, "Oh, it's all nuanced. You don't even know the Black Hawk thing was on purpose. He's a heel. He's coming in as a heel, not as a babyface, and he's just kind of being sneaky about it because he got booed right away, and then he ended the promo with, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money, which is a super heel thing to say. So everybody thinks it's this like nuanced heel turn, and I'm like, it's not. He said he fucked up. That's all that was. He fucked up because he wanted to beat Phil and say, I love the Blackhawks, and then he got booed. And then when he's like, okay, settled. Like he even did that. He was like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
And it's like, you fucked up. That promo could have been a million times better. I felt that they hyped up too much of the CM Punk's going to be here with a live mic. He's the most controversial person in the world. And then he comes in and it's like, hey guys, blah. It just felt flat to me from my perspective as someone who doesn't really like him in the first place. So it's a little weird. But anyway, we're running long. I'm going to just real quick run through the Raw stuff. Randy came back to start off Raw. It seems like it's going to be a babyface run because he was high-fiving everyone. And I think we spent the majority of his run with Riddle waiting for the turn. I think that's what everybody was expecting because Randy's, evil. So we were expecting that turn. It never happened. I hope we don't get it. I don't want heel Randy. Even though he's great as a heel, I think babyface Randy works. Let's let it ride for another 10 years. I'm sure he'll turn on someone eventually. But he did the Bloodline's going to get a bunch of receipts, but then they did a little promo in the back with Jade and clarify, like, not you.
Although I don't believe that, and that's the great thing about Randy is he says that, but I feel like he's still he can be a face and still be an asshole enough to be like, oh yeah, Jay, I you said that, I didn't say that. Fine, it's cool, but you're still getting yours.
Yeah, you're good. RKO.
Yeah.
We already talked a little bit about Nakamura. He came out and called out Cody. I loved the Muda tribute with the mist, and the blood mist is better than the green mist. I think it fits the Nakamura brand better.
Although my friend Kevin texted me twice this weekend and said, I don't know how much money you would have to pay me to get me to let someone spit in my face. Because that happened twice in the weekend with the mist. And he's like, I don't know if I'd be down with that. I can't take mist to the face. I can't have someone spit in my face. That's not cool.
I know a few people that pay money to get spit in their face. So anyway, moving along.
That Randy return hit me hard, and I sent you the clip of it, and I would implore anybody who's watching, either check it out on YouTube or WWE posted the clip on Instagram.
On our socials, I shared it.
You shared it on socials? It's the moment where Randy gets in the ring, and they're going to do the big Randy cam on the jib, and it's going to fly in. He's going to do the pose on the turnbuckle. And right before he gets on that turnbuckle, he stops, and he looks at it, and he counts how long it's been. He goes, he says it out loud. I don't even know how long it's been. I'm just going to soak it in for a second. And he just taps that turnbuckle. You can see... To me, that is where it's so beautiful when a performer is themselves. And I can only imagine what it is like. I've been in situations like it as a performer where it's been a while since you've been on stage and you start to question if you'll ever get to be on stage again. and somebody, especially in a physical business where your body eventually one day will say, we're not going to wrestle anymore.
Oh, and when the doctors were selling him, you're done.
When your back is broken and you don't know how long or if ever you're going to do this again, and to see it matter to Randy Orton, the person, just that, I swear, I only saw it on the Instagram clip, and I cried watching it because you could see a performer go, I didn't know if I would ever even get a chance to do this again, and it means something to me. And he pads that turnbuckle, he gets up, he puts his head down, he slaps it one more time, and he does the pose, and that's where I think the beauty of that kind of an art form, where we get to see someone who's playing a character, but the actual performer is there. Nothing has hit me that hard in a while from any sort of medium where you go, oh, he didn't know if he'd ever be allowed to do this again, and he got a chance to, and it means something. It's so beautiful as a moment to watch. I'm glad we got that from a guy that we think is kind of surly and gruff and a bit of an asshole, and who I think through the years have even questioned if he likes the business and wants to do it nearly as much as he does. To see that after all this, he's like, oh my God, it was almost over, and I get it again, and now it matters. I think that's also a great sign of what we're going to see from him as a performer and a wrestler and a character going forward, that he realizes how valuable this last run, however long it is going to be for him.
Yep. No, I agree. That was a good moment. And the pop he got when he finally struck the pose, really beautiful. Other things on Raw, there was a tag team turmoil match, which was fun. It was a fun little gauntlet thing, and the Creed's getting a big push. They deserve it. They're really talented. I would need a little character work, but that's about it. R-Truth had some more shenanigans, came out with a bunch of jelly rolls, dirtying up the Judgment Day clubhouse, as they call it, which I would call it something else, guys. But cool to see R-Truth back on TV. We got our Super Meat Boy match, which was Ivar and Bronson, just kind of like two giant ham hocks just slamming against each other. I loved it. I didn't really like the double count out, but I guess it keeps them both strong, and it'll extend the feud, so we'll get to see that match again, I think, down the road. The women's tag division is in shambles. Like, I really don't even know what the fuck is going on with Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. They need to figure something out with that. And then Dom and Randy, great match for Randy. Good. Obviously, Dom is the perfect opponent because it's still a through line for the storyline from Survivor Series. And you could, Dom can lose every match going forward. He will still continue to be the top heel in that company moving forward. But yeah, that was all for Raw. And then obviously the Punk promo, which we just spent way too long talking about. So I don't know. I'm excited about where professional wrestling is. WWE is hotter than ever. Even with Punk there, like you said, it keeps it interesting. Even if it's not a good interesting, I'm still going to tune in to see how he's going to fuck this up. You know what I mean? That's how I tune in for this.
As soon as we change the clocks back for daylight saving time, we'll be talking about something else. But I hope not. I hope as a performer, as a character, that he has found some peace and this is for real. I hope at any point, I hope these people, these performers and these characters find homes that help them all shine. Like the way Brock needed to figure out how to be Brock within the context of this system, and then seemed to really enjoy wrestling again and give us shows and performances that we loved.
Yeah. The Triple H era is definitely feeling fresher and nicer, and like there's more opportunity and more interesting things coming. AEW, I will say, they are struggling a little. I was there for the Rampage tapings and Collision. That was a half house. It was painful to me because I really do like AEW, and I have a lot of friends that work there. And it hurts me to see a half house like that. But it was a crazy weekend with a pay-per-view the next day, and LA is way too expensive, so I can see why people chose to just go to the pay-per-view instead of a whole week because, Dynamite was here, all that stuff. I get it. I do think that there is a narrative on the internet which is happening everywhere on anything. Video game console wars, politics, everything that ever happens on the internet, there is a tribalism and a weird campaign to tear each other down. And I think that's going on with AEW, where you go on there and you just see people post, oh, look at this empty arena, and they're struggling, and people want to leave, and all the ex-WWE guys want to go back to WWE. It's like, not all of them. There's a handful of them, I'm sure, that, maybe they think they're a little too big for their britches. Like, they don't belong there because they're too big of a star. Maybe, but you got fired in the first place from WWE. I'm not talking about Punk. I'm not going to other people that got let go. You got let go, and you've been given an opportunity, and now you think you're too big to be there, and you want to go back to WWE. Like, what makes you think they want you back? You haven't done anything in AEW. I'm not going to name any names because I'm not going to name any names.
We know exactly.
Hurt any of my
we
friends'
know exactly
feelings.
who you're talking about.
But maybe you don't. Maybe you're not as big as you think you are, and maybe going back isn't the right move for you. So I think as fans of professional wrestling and WWE and sports entertainment and whatever it is that this entire weird universe is, we need to be a little bit more supportive of what this is. Like, we need AEW to do well so that WWE... Look at what happened. AEW was crushing. And what happened with WWE? Right back up. Mm-hmm. And now we need AEW to go back up so that WWE can go back up. If we, as fans, spend our time trashing the other company, we're not helping anything. We're going to ruin it, and it's going to die kind of like it did in the 2000s after the invasion. Everybody was, WCW, blah, 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 then the invasion happened, and it kind of just melted away. We don't want that. We want more professional wrestling done well and proper. So let's do an effort to not tear each other down. We're the outcasts. Remember, to this day, I still have friends. When I tell them that I watch pro wrestling, I have friends that come up to me like, what? Why? Yeah. What are you doing? The UFC is right there. I'm like, actually, it's the same company now, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry. So there are still a majority of people that don't like pro wrestling. We are still kind of the outcasts of entertainment. So let's support each other.
Oh, I'm in full agreement. I think that, despite just being a WWE correspondent, I'm a fan of AEW and what they do, and I'm only rooting them on to grow as a company and only point out areas that... Because, look, they also came in with a lot of bluster going, oh, we're going to do pro wrestling right. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, oh, so you're the solution? Because if you were the solution, you just know maybe they've done a few things and understand and they're cutting some corners that they don't need to, or maybe WWE has learned a few things. But I root for them. And I think most people watching both programs would actually be surprised as to how much they work together to begin with. I have it on good authority, and I could probably promise you that while Cody was running things in AEW, he was still texting Triple H. Oh, yeah. I don't think Triple H was surprised by that Cody entrance where he mocked him. They worked together. Adam Copeland is a big example of how much they work together and how much everybody really does know each other within that community. I root both of them on. But as a parting shot, I want to bring up something you and I have been talking about online a bit with each other, bring it into the forefront, because I'm not rooting for this one way or the other, and I'm not telling another person what they should or shouldn't do. I'm not even trying to predict what they will or will not do. I would speak more from what I would do in this situation, but at this point, to me, there is no way and no reason MJF should not sign with WWE next year. And this is a very simple reason. He is, in my eyes, as good as he says he is, and by all accounts, as good as he thinks he is. And if he is that good, and if he can be that good, then it is time for him to take the opportunity to prove himself and challenge himself on the biggest level, on the biggest stage, unarguably the largest company and the largest opportunity, because I can't speak for him, but I have to imagine when you get into wrestling, your goal is to wrestle at WrestleMania and to be the WWE champion and to compete at the highest level with the highest possibility, and that is WWE. And I think he is that good, and I think he can be even better, and there is no reason in my mind he should take any more time growing or developing away from that company because he's ready to do it. To me, it's a no-brainer. Come 2024, he signs with WWE, because why wouldn't he? What is left to be there other than to continue to be really good on a smaller level of something where your goal would only be to go to that next level anyway? Wouldn't that be the case? Because if I were there and I felt that way about myself and I was doing those things in that area, at some point, if I feel I'm that great, I want to challenge myself on that highest level. If we as comedians or performers or in movies or on TV are operating here and someone here gives us this opportunity, I have to at some point take that opportunity and go, you know what, I think I'm that good, and it's time to either try it or not try it. And why, especially in a sport, a physical-based thing where eventually his body is going to say we're no longer doing this, why stay in college basketball if you can enter the draft right now and make a difference on that team? And in this instance, I think MJF is so good, he walks into a main event push, a main event spot, a championship caliber contender the day he signs. And if it were me, there's no questions asked. I'm taking the WWE contract because I think I'm that good, and it's time to prove I am that good. It's time for him to go. He should sign with WWE next year, and if he does, he's champion by the end of the year.
Okay. I will disagree. And I'll give you why I disagree. You said there's no reason. To me, there is a reason. If you look at the top baby faces right now in WWE, they're all in their 30s, pushing 40. Some of them are in their 40s. Finn Balor's 40-something. MJF is 27. If he were to stay in AEW for 3 more years, say 2027, which is the rumored secret extension to his contract that has already been signed, I don't have this on any authority, even though there's a picture of me hanging out with MJF at 2 a.m. on the internet. He didn't tell me this. I'm just going off of rumor mill. I'm not, please don't take my word. But there are rumors that he signed for another till 2027. It makes sense to me for him to get a little more seasoning. He is as good as he says he is. He is a top performer. But we already established that the main event scene is overcrowded in WWE. If he were to go over there now, I don't think he's champion right away. If he were to sign 2024, he's not champion by the end of the year because we still got Cody and Jay and Sammy and Drew and and all these people that are lined up for the world champ. I don't think he skips all those people to get to the top. He can get there, but I think he needs more time. And I think staying in AEW for another 3 years, run it into the ground. If that's what's the rumor or like the consensus is on the internet is that AEW is failing, it's about to fall apart, run it to the ground and then jump ship. But I think he could benefit from a couple more years of being there, helping build that company up. And then once all of that crowded space in the main event scene gets their shot, Cody gets his shot and Sammy gets his shot and maybe wins or loses, whatever it is. Everybody gets their shot and there's still kind of a fight going on. That's when you bring in MJF to crush them all in his 30s, in his prime, because I would say prime for wrestling is 30, 35, around that time period. Some people go further. I mean, like Finn and these people, they're in their 40s, whatever. But I think we have plenty of time for MJF to continue to grow, to continue to be better and show different layers. I mean, he's shown a ton of layers already between the heel and babyface. We have time, I think.
Come at me, Internet, because when I hear an argument like that, I understand it, but I immediately want to fire back. Like, one, is he not that good?
No, he is.
Is he not that good? Because if you're like, he'll get lost in the shuffle, then what you're telling me is he's not that good. But what we know is he is that good. He is that good. Not only would he not get lost in the shuffle, the more main event players, the more people for him to beat or fight or wrestle or challenge. He doesn't. And why would you not? Why? This is a real one. Why would you not? If he can use some more seasoning, why not season yourself in that company? Why not take advantage of doing it on that stage at that level? What do you gain by working? If we want to put it in comedy terms, why stay in a smaller market if you can go to LA and make an impact on the bigger market, or in New York? If we're going to say New York, LA, Chicago, whatever it is, if you're in a smaller city somewhere in the world, because we see it all the time, somebody comes from a smaller city, a smaller town, some other area, they're at the top of their class, so to speak, in entertainment, in comedy, and performance, and then they come here. To be honest, 9 times out of 10, if they are that good, they blow past the people who aren't as good in that market. So if we think someone might not be as good on the WWE roster, or if they are, I'm saying I believe MJF is that good. So why stay at the smaller company and not go to the bigger one? If you're going to take 3 more years of your life, which is already defined, it's not Hollywood. It's not stand-up. You don't have infinite time to step in a ring and win championships and make money. And remember, the only thing that's real in wrestling are the money and the miles. How long you can do it, how far you have to do it, and how much you make for doing it. His character His character of MJF travels much further in the world being on a WWE television program than an AEW program. Why would you waste any of that time? Because he is at that level now. He does step in and immediately could challenge any of those people. And I think look, sound, and performance can absolutely not just hold his own, but put some of those wrestlers to shame. And it's time to do it now because you do not want to wait. Why would you continue to play a black box theater if Broadway is calling? If Broadway's like, no, come and be a star. If Hollywood says, come be a star, you're like, I'm going to stick to the indies for a little while. No, Hollywood says you're a star. Take the money, become the star, and that's where you get to push all of that. How many more pickles could you sell with WWE than AEW? I believe in that guy. I think he is that fucking incredible. And that's why I think, why would you ever wait? Why would you give away years to something that is admittedly a smaller product at the moment, only in that you do not have the global reach, you don't have the partnerships, you don't have the availability of resources for all of the variety of things. It's got to be this year. Of course there's a chance he's going to stay with AEW, and there's a lot of reasons that makes sense. But I'm a main event spectacle, big show guy, and there's no bigger show and no bigger opportunity, and he has earned that opportunity, which is what I imagine he was wrestling for from day one, was that opportunity. He's earned it in my book. Go to WWE, take over, champion by the end of 2024. He's the Money in the Bank winner. MJF comes in, big entrance, big asshole, yells at everybody, wins Money in the Bank, teases everybody. By the end of the year, champion, go home. Now he's wrestling. Now he's going into WrestleMania 41 as the champion for Cody to come get, for Punk to come get, for Seth to come get, for Jay to come get, for Sammy to come get, for a newly minted face Roman Reigns to come get. Whatever it is, he's there. I believe it. Book it. Get him over here, WWE. Come on, MJF. You know you want the money, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're obviously a bigger MJF fan than I am. I like MJF a lot. I think he is definitely, I look at it from the AEW point of view as a product. When he says he's the best in AEW. I think the reason he stays is because he truly believes in building an alternative. The message that was AEW, I think he believes in that. And I think he thinks he can do that and bring AEW to the level of WWE. Whether he succeeds or not, that's different. But I think he genuinely wants to build something with them. I think he's really good friends with Tony Khan. I mean, they're both Jewish, so
that's what he told you.
So I think he's friends. I think it's like kind of like that punk rock mentality, kind of what I'm doing with riffs. Would I rather headline the Comedy Store? Sure, but I want to build my own thing here. I want to build it. When I get to WWE, I want it to be big fanfare. I don't want it to be like half fanfare. Like some WWE people don't know who MJF. They don't watch AEW. They don't know who he is. He comes out, blah, blah, blah. It's going to take a while to get there. Kind of like Jericho. When Jericho debuted in WWE, a lot of people, I didn't know who he was. I saw the thing. I saw the countdown. I'm like, yeah, this guy's interesting. His hair's weird. I wasn't watching WCW. I didn't know who Chris Jericho was. So I didn't know why that was a big deal. So the same will apply, I think, to MJF. If he just shows up like, I'm the best. Are you, though? Maybe. We'll see. And maybe he gets that call up. Maybe he fucks up. Maybe he fumbles the ball in the main event scene. Now you just destroyed MJF, who's not ready.
But that could happen 3 years from now, and he's wasted 3 years where he could have tried.
I don't think it's a waste to build something. I think more seasoning. I think even when he gets to WWE at 30, he still needs more seasoning. He'll need a 3-year run in WWE going after the IC belt, kind of, I don't know.
He needs to pull a LeBron, take his talents to South Beach, be the heel that even the rest. Think about the heel he'd be in the wrestling community at that point. The people who love him, who want to see that thing happen, and he went. That's the real heat that I actually think. That's why this face run isn't connecting, because I thought MJF believed in true heel heat wrestling style. That's how you work the real heat. Now everybody hates him. Why waste time? Book him. Come on over, buddy. The water is warm, the championships are real, and the money is big. Evil Genius says it.
I think this babyface run was his test to see if he can go to WWE and be... Because the thing is, the old heel MJF, wouldn't work he wouldn't be able to do the things he was doing in WWE. They wouldn't let him. Some of the stuff he was saying and doing, they wouldn't let him do it. So I think this babyface run was to kind of see, like, can he work in that environment? And I think we saw he can. For now, thank you guys for watching and listening to us rant and yell about professional wrestling. Please tune in more. Please follow the show at Outside Interference Show. Eddie, where can they follow you?
Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at I am Eddie Furth. Come check out Fictional Roast on December 22nd at 7:30 p.m. at the Lab at the Hollywood Improv. For the holiday season, we're roasting Santa Claus, so come check that out. Friday, December 22nd at 7:30 p.m. in the Lab at the Hollywood Improv, and I'll be back here as soon as Orton RKO's Jay, or Cody says something to Punk, or Seth Rollins walks out of a building because he doesn't like that Punk is there, or we get the news that MJF is coming to WWE. I'll be back here.
Fuck yeah, dude. Well, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.